Hello, and welcome to Beyond Books, where we talk about books and go beyond. I'm your host. I'm Renee, co-host and official mascot of the channel, Raina. And today's snack of the day for Raina is Wag chicken and waffle bites. These are an Amazon treat, and Raina really adores them. So I break them up because they're kind of big, but yeah, we're good. Today now, we are going to do a tag. It is Tag Tuesday. Happy Tag Tuesday. And I'm going to do the Books and Art tag by Daniela at Uncommon Reader. Now, here's the story on this tag. It was created to celebrate Daniela's first year on BookTube. And Daniela said, for the occasion, I created an original tag inspired by my love for art. 7 paintings are paired with a prompt inspired by their title. The bonus prompt is for everyone to choose their favorite art piece and create a prompt and book choice. Have fun. Okay, well, here we go. So, number 1, the painting is called Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog, and it is by Caspar David Friedrich. And it says, a book that focuses or explores solitude. Okay. Now, for these, Daniela did a beautiful video for her tag where she showed the paintings and everything. She picked some really, really wonderful ones. I'm not going to show them because I want you to go to hers and watch hers. I can't do as good a job as she did, I'm sure. So, yeah, if you're wondering what any of these look like, go over there and take a look, and you'll see. She did a great job. I chose for this Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. This story takes place entirely on a fictitious island that is off the coast of Antarctica. It has a rocky and very turbulent coastline. It has beautiful and amazing birds, sea creatures. Reading about it was just an amazing experience, really. It made me want to be there. But because it is such a remote location, the only thing on the island is a research facility and just a handful of people. Yet, somehow, there's trouble, which humans seem to cause wherever they go. And the island is also being heavily affected by climate change. Later on in the week, I'm going to have a full review video of that book because it was my March Book of the Month choice. So prompt number 2, the painting is one that we're probably all familiar with. It's called Cherubs by Raphael, a book with supernatural protagonists. So I've actually read several books lately where the supernatural plays a role. I don't know if I would call them all necessarily always protagonists. I mean, I guess they are. This one comes to mind, A Cup of Gloom. This is by Alfie and Annabelle. This book actually seems to have a little bit of everything. Alfie and Annabelle were kind enough to gift me this and one of their other books, which I will probably put on either my April TBR or my May TBR, so that I could read them, enjoy them, and talk about them on my channel. So I did talk a little bit more about this when I read it. I think it was November. It was either October or November. So yeah, Cup of Gloom. The other one that I've read recently is a book that has supernatural components, is a book that I really didn't in some ways care for that much, but it still seems to haunt me because the writing was very good, and it started out so good. The first half was really riveting. I could barely put it down, and she created a world that was so vivid. Yeah, I can't stop thinking about it sometimes. Beautiful Ugly by Alice Feeney. This was must have been my book of the month for February, I guess. because I know it comes from Book of the Month, and it wasn't March, and it wasn't January, and it was this year. And actually says on the back that it was December 2024. So there we go. But anyway, yeah, I would say this one for supernatural as well. The next painting is called Moscow by Kandinsky, a book that is set in the future, sci-fi or dystopic. So for that, of course, always comes to mind 1984 by George Orwell. This was one of the, now I know, this was one of the first banned books that I read in 2024. And I have a review of that on my channel with all my banned book stuff. But also a book that I still need to finish, and that is the Giver series by Lois Lowry. I've read The Giver, which is another banned book. I believe I read that in October or November last year. And I was so enchanted with it that I want to read the whole entire series. So I have that in the one book anthology. And so I will sometime this year, hopefully, get to that and read that. Number 4, the painting is The Cradle by Berthe Morisot. And that's a book with a special bond between mother and daughter or son. Now, for this, the first one that popped into my mind, and for some reason I couldn't find the book. I don't know. It's somewhere around here. I've showed it on my channel several times. Would be Loved and Missed by Susie Boyd. It's actually one of my favorite books from last year. But the other one that comes to mind as well is The God of the Woods by Liz Moore. I'm still making my way through this. This is the Book of the Year winner from Book of the Month. And they sent me this along with my Book of the Month choice, which was very nice of them. This is an amazing and in some ways really intense thriller. It's kind of different in some ways than your typical thriller would be. We have a mom whose son disappeared 14 years earlier. The story takes place in 1975, so he disappeared in 1961. And of course, she is devastated because she had a very close bond with this boy. And now, in the present day, which in the book again is 1975, her teenage daughter goes missing as well. But this time, it's kind of a different experience for her because she was never the same after the son went missing, and never really bonded with that daughter, maybe, the way that she should have. So yeah, it's sad and very emotional for a thriller. So far, excellent book. You all told me I was going to love it, and you were right. So the next, number 5 painting is The Swing by Renoir, a book that reminds you of your childhood. And so for this prompt, I chose a book that I have not read, but it'll turn up on a TBR very soon. I promise you that. I read actually the first paragraph of it for another tag called the Quick to Judgment tag. This is called The Memory of Running by Ron McClarty. And I picked this up at the Goodwill, kind of just on a whim, didn't really know anything about it. I had never heard of it. And when I did that Quick to Judgment tag and I read the first paragraph, it didn't end up being the overall winner of books to read, but it is one that I do want to put on a TBR soon. And the reason I say that is the first paragraph it's like it was describing my childhood. There was a cottage by a lake, they were driving around in a Ford station wagon, and yeah, it was the 60s. And I do love the cover. The cover is very pretty and very just nostalgic and warm, and yeah, so I'm interested in that one. So number 6 is The painting is called American Gothic. I think we're all pretty familiar with that one. That's the cornflakes couple. I think that that image used to be used for cornflakes and commercial. Um, it's the farmers standing with pitchfork and all of that stuff. That is by Wood Grant, and the prompt is a book set in a rural area. I mean, I read and have read tons of books set in rural areas, but one of the books that just comes to mind almost immediately is John Grisham's A Time to Kill, and the sequel, which is called A Time for Mercy. The lawyer in these stories is Jake Brigance, famously played by Matthew McConaughey McConaughey, excuse me, in the movie version of Time to Kill. We also, again, check in with Jake Brigance in the short story collection by Grisham, which is called Sparring Partners. But here's something that I didn't know. Jake Brigance is also the lawyer in the book Sycamore Row. And that is one Grisham that I haven't read. So I need to get a hold of that book and get that on a TBR very soon, because I really do like that character of Jake Brigance. And he is from a small town in Mississippi where he practices, and everybody knows him. And his partner-in-law is called Harry Rex, and he's somewhat of a character as well. So, yeah, good stories. Okay, so now number 7. The painting is called Self-Portrait. And this is by Artemisia Gentileschi. So the prompt is a book with a female protagonist ahead of her time, a pioneer. So for this, I chose this book, Dark Enough to See the Stars in a Jamestown Sky by Connie Lopolo. Now this is book 1 in a series. It's called the Sky series. All of them are named with sky things. And I need to get a hold of the other books in the series. This is a local author. She's from, I believe, probably Jamestown, which is not very far from here. And our local libraries don't have these. I think they have this one, but they don't have any others. What? But anyway, these are about the women who originally came to the new land with their husbands to colonize this area of Virginia. The books take place, I think they actually start in the late 1500s, and then they go, I believe, through maybe the early 1800s. They are historical fiction, but this author based them upon stories that had been passed down by the women in her family. And so that's what it says, even right on the cover, based on the true story of the women and children at Jamestown. So I read this first one, got to read the other 2 now. Okay, so bonus. What's your favorite painting or art? Create a prompt to match your art with a book title. Okay, so for me, I'm going to say something that is not a painting, but here's what it is. There is some photography by a photographer named Vivian Mayer. And there's such an interesting story behind this photography. I think it's actually pronounced Meyer, but it's spelled Maier. She photographed people on the streets of mainly New York and Chicago during the 40s, and then all the way through, I believe, into the 70s. She mainly only photographed in black and white. Very little of her work is in color. But no one knew she was doing it. She never talked about it. In fact, most of the film was never even developed. Ms. Meyer was never a woman of means. She was a nanny for several families throughout her lifetime. And in the late 2000s, just before she passed, her work was discovered in a storage facility after it was sold off for non-payment of rent. Now, the person who discovered all of this undeveloped film began developing it and pursued finding out who the photographer was. And it's incredible work. I believe there's been a documentary about it. And there are also books that have been published. It's basically what we would call today like street photography, candid portraits, streetscapes, like children playing, outdoor cafes, cars that, were new at the time, the big Buicks and things like that. People dressed up, because people dressed up a little bit more back then. Men in dark suits, women in skirts and heels. She really captured the history and the culture of our country during that time. I saw an exhibit of her work in Tampa, Florida. I believe there were about 25 or 30 different photographs by her. And there's a great photography museum there in Tampa. So if you're ever in the area, I would recommend that. And if you have a chance, check out her, or it's not her website, but the website that talks about her work. It's simply vivianmaier.com, and that's spelled vivianmaier.com. I'll put a link in the description. There are, again, books of her work that have been published, and you can see some of her photography on the website as well. So, book to go with that. Duh. I was going to say a book that was set in New York City, and I would choose for that the first book that comes to mind, Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger, done during the same time period as her photographs, and in the same place. So, yeah, you can't. I mean, you have to think of it. I don't know what else you could think of. But anyway, that's it. I will tag others in the description. Daniela, again, congratulations on your first year on BookTube. And if you haven't visited Daniela at Uncommon Reader, please go there now and check out her videos. She sometimes includes footage from her home country of Italy. It's absolutely beautiful, and she has great taste in books as well. And while you're here on my channel, don't forget to please like this video, subscribe if you haven't already. Have yourselves a great day. Take care, and thanks for watching.